Hi, what's his name? Samuel, the film too. I think it's still connecting. And yeah, Samuel, what's up? Nice to have you here. And it's 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 amazing. I mean, it's a big deal having Binjo coming to share with us on becoming a top talent in the marketing industry. I really spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time going through your achievements so far, so good. And I was like, oh, you've done so much. Yeah, so I went through your achievement. And I'm like, you've really done so much, and there is a lot to learn from you. Some people have left, but well, anyways, this myself, I'm here to learn as well. And I feel like people would join along the line. And obviously, I have started recording
Do
it,
we
so
to
it will
wait
be
for them to join back,
we
or
can
do we
just we
want to
can
be there?
just wait. We can just wait for like 5 minutes.
Okay,
Once it's
no.
7:05, I would kickstart. Somebody's here, another person. I think I will have to just turn on this fan. Yeah, here is very pretty hot. And yeah, Oluwatobi. I don't know Oluwatobi, but Oluwatobi, nice to have you here too as well. Daniel Moses. Um, Yeah, Daniel Moses, nice to have you here. Let me just say the reason why I had to reach you. So one of the things that I've been doing for Climber is the fact that personally, I discovered that there is a talent gap. Fine, we can say there are a lot of edtech startups everywhere and there, but I still believe that there's a huge talent gap that needs to be bridged, where we have professionals and we have like people that are really trying hard. And I feel like the talent information or has been bastardized, commoditizing information, where we see everybody's a professional on WhatsApp, everybody's holding master classes and stuff like that. And if you get to take courses from guys like this, you might not really have the direct footprint or the roadmap to become a professional. So why don't we have like a link, a bridge between people who have done this, like who are in the industry, share with us like the roadmap or some basic things, and we get to learn from them. So last week or last 2 weeks, I hosted David Adeleke, where he talked about how to become, how to build a career in the media industry. And of course, he has the proof to show for it. And a lot of people learned. I even learned a lot from what he said. So this is marketing. Every day you post jobs or people post jobs on Good Vibes and Inshallah, like lots of remote jobs, well-paying jobs. Why are we not having young talents really grabbing that? We want huge people to like really break the gap of the Nigerian um, system, but there are some things we need to learn. And outside, we might not be able to learn these things on our own. So yeah, this is why we're having you to teach us on how we can become top market talent. And by the way, Binjo Adeniran, I checked his bio. I've seen you post on Twitter. I discovered you're the co-founder of Future Africa. Although I think one time like that, I tried to cold email you. I don't know if you got it or probably didn't respond. I cold emailed you over something like that. And that was last year. Then he also is a growth marketer. He has worked in, well, I would not really say so much because I feel when you introduce yourself, you really give us a lot of the achievements you had. And I know that they're actually really tremendous. So yeah, over to you, Bijo, but I really appreciate the time you have for us. And I'm pretty sure we'll get to learn a lot from this session.
Okay, so let me know if you can hear me.
I can. And I'll turn off my mic.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. Let me share my screen so we can get started. I'm not sure what, sorry. There seems to be an error somewhere. I'm not sure what it is and where it's from. So sorry, I think it's just my slide actually. Okay, no problem. It's just the design for the slide. I thought it was a mistake. So share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen clearly.
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. So today we'll be discussing how to become top marketing talent. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm sorry you can't really see my face. The lighting is kind of poor where I'm at. But I mean, just focus on the slides and we can get started. So just a few things about me. My name is Binjo Adeniran. I work as a growth partner at a venture capital firm called Future Africa. Future Africa essentially exists to connect investors to the fastest growing African startups on the continent. There I lead marketing. I lead the growth marketing, communications, and community initiatives for the firm. And that includes content marketing, digital marketing, includes ad placements, newsletters, working with founders when they need to make public announcements, helping founders tell the right story, all of the stuff that you typically do at a startup. I previously have worked for a bunch of startups, some of which you might know, some of which are dead. So worked at Dev Center, which is one of the largest software development talent communities in Africa. Worked at Bondo Africa, which is a cryptocurrency, social cryptocurrency product. Worked very early days at Bitcoins, which is a crypto exchange. Did some consulting for Flutterwave, led paid ads and marketing at hotels on NG, and worked as a growth manager at OMG Digital and as a content manager at Launchpad. And worked for some time as an SEO consultant at Carrywise. So some of my skills and expertise, like I mentioned earlier, content marketing and strategy, product growth in terms of customer acquisition and retention, digital comms and PR in terms of distributing announcements to the press and media, digital advertising across multiple network platforms, digital analytics, and some technical skills. I have a software engineering background, and so my technical skills are quite strong. So we'll get started. So how do you become top marketing talent? I have about, I think, 8 or 9 slides of this, but I will go one after the other. I tend to talk very fast, so please let me know if I'm going too fast for you. And let's just get started. So how do you learn, right? How do you learn to become a good marketer? The first thing is books. I like books because they typically cover whole topics. So compare books to articles, you'll typically find somebody write something in depth in a book, or somebody take a concept and give you more insight into the book. YouTube is great, and YouTube is great because YouTube is very visual. So you can see somebody do something like automation setups in MailChimp, for example, or setting up Google Analytics, or doing something in WordPress or Squarespace, and then you can use that as a guide for whatever it is you're trying to build. You can also listen to podcasts. There's tons of great marketing podcasts. Unfortunately, I don't listen to any particular marketing podcasts anymore, but there's tons of great marketing podcasts. You can just Google and find them. Like I mentioned earlier, blogs and articles help you get a sense of what you should be doing, also help you get a sense of what other people are doing all around the world. Studying others, this one depends on you. If you like a company or you think a company is doing well, you can go, for example, read their entire blog, or go and see what their social media strategy is like, how they create their videos, what kind of personas they talk to, how they interact with their customers. And the last thing is courses. So you take courses. There are tons of digital marketing courses. You can take courses on Coursera. You can take Udacity. In the very early days of my career, I took courses on this platform called General Assembly, which is where I learned a lot of the stuff I know. But also, some platforms have certification courses. So Google has certification courses for all of these products. Facebook has the Facebook Blueprint course. I think HubSpot also has a content marketing and customer relationship management course as well. So that's how to learn. And then we're going to split how to learn into three different parts, right? What should you learn, right? It's very important to learn the principles of marketing. And the principles of marketing is what gets people to buy stuff. How do people find out about things that they want to buy or use? How do they go from that awareness to then making a purchase or to signing up, and to then using that platform or that tool daily, weekly, or monthly to serve whatever purpose? How does somebody in Nigeria who wants to invest money decide what platforms they want to invest their money with? Because there's tons of investment platforms, right? If I'm a student and I'm preparing for JAM, how do I decide how I want to study for JAM or my WAEC exam? So the principles of marketing, I would say, remain constant across multiple platforms. Of course, there are certain things that the internet exacerbates or that makes look different. So for example, virality, right? Tweets go viral, Instagram videos go viral. Several things happen to several people and they're just on top of mind for days. But this is not an internet phenomenon, right? Before the internet, there were things that would happen and you would hear about them in school the next morning from your friend, or something would happen on Thursday nights on Super Story and everybody would talk about it on Friday morning in school, right? So how do people consume stuff, and how does that content consumption make them passionate, make them emotional, make them happy, such that they go on to talk about it? I like to say that it's important to not to focus your learning too much on platforms, because then you become a platform expert, but you don't really know marketing. And the most important thing to note is that platforms always fade away and the principles are here to stay. So newspapers are not so hot anymore, but we still see ads. We still see ads on websites we visit. We see ads on Instagram. We see ads on Twitter. So the concept of advertising remains the same, right? How do I create an image that is different from all the images this person has seen today so I can get their attention, right? And even on the internet, we've seen platforms change over time. We've seen Yahoo go from the largest advertising network to a much smaller advertising network today. We've seen Google gain dominance. We've seen TikTok rise in the last 3 years. So, the platforms change. The platforms that people use daily change, but the principles are still the same. How can I create something that attracts people's attention, keep their attention, but then use that to convince them, to make a decision, right? A purchase decision or whatever decision I want them to make. And so once you've studied the principles, you then want to go deeper and start to study platforms. And platforms are so important today because they hold the key to distribution. I like to think of all platforms as distribution platforms for your idea, your concept, your business service, your your product, right? So how does a platform work? So the question to ask yourself on each of these platforms is, how do I become the top person in my industry on this platform? And the rules for Instagram are completely different from the rules for YouTube, completely different from the rules of TikTok, even though Instagram is becoming more similar to TikTok now. And they're completely different rules when you're optimizing for search engines. So you need to take a deep dive into each of these platforms. And again, something that really helps is that when a platform becomes really massive and becomes really popular, the owners of that platform will write a guide on how to be popular. If they don't write the guide, other people who are marketing professionals who have succeeded on the platform will also make a guide. So for example, there are tons of YouTubers who have written books on how to conquer and succeed on YouTube. There's tons of marketing folk who have written books, articles, and materials on how you can show up how you can get your websites or content to show up in search engines, right? Similar thing for Google search and display ads as well. There's tons of books. There's even a certification program for the Google network and for the Instagram and Facebook network. And then I like to put Google Analytics. Analytics to how it measures data. You have to learn what the limitations are. You have to learn how it measures, people coming back to a web it measures, time spent on sites, how it measures a bounce, and those things are very important because that's how you want to measure it. That's how you measure success for your campaigns, right? If you have a website or you're trying to get people to do certain things within an app kind of product. And the second thing after learning is to do. Oftentimes people take certification courses and they have a certificate, but there's absolutely nothing to prove that they have learned that stuff. I would also say when you're looking out for a course or a program, try to find a course that has practical aspects where you actually have some simulation of real world, of a real world example, and then you can practice what you've learned in the program. When I took Udacity in 2018, we were asked to sell specific products to specific, specific groups of people. And the good thing was that it was a real life product and a real life website. So we could see the analytics and we could see whether our campaigns were successful or not, right? So build something. It can be a website, it can be a YouTube channel, it can be an Instagram page. Sell something, it can be an ebook. It can be, I don't know, something that helps students in a course you're very familiar with when you were in university. Grow an audience, so learn how to grow a newsletter, for example, learn how to grow a Twitter following, learn how to grow, Instagram following, but realize that the tactics that you're using, you eventually have to apply them to an organization, right? So you can't afford to do spammy stuff. Like you can't, like somebody cannot just click a random hashtag on Twitter and you are there with the weirdest meme. You've hashtagged all of the trends. Like those things are so weird and companies cannot afford to do that, right? So try when you're growing your audience, try to think like an organization that has a reputation to protect. So build a community, right? If you have interests, maybe you like to exercise in the morning, try to build a community of people who love to exercise, a community of people who love to go to the gym, maybe people who like to paint in Lagos, in Ekiti, in Calabar, in Uyo. Try to build community and see where that leads you. And then get people to share stuff. So when you've gotten people to join your community, how do you encourage them to talk about this community? How do you encourage them to share this blog post? How do you get them to share this image you posted on Instagram? Those are things that are important to learn. And then the final one here is get internships. And when you're looking for internships, I would advise that you don't wait for the internships to come to you. You go to companies and you say, oh, I like what you're doing. Here's what I've been trying to learn. I would like to, apply some of the things I've learned in this organization, but I would also like to learn, how marketing works in your organization and learn from you as well. It really helps when you go and you go out to meet people because you will find more often than not that companies are thinking of hiring specific people in specific roles, but they are yet to put the word out, either because the team is too small for hiring processes or because the founders or the executive team keeps putting it to the back burner and keep postponing it. But it's always best to reach out to people, companies you admire, people who work there, talk to them about the possibility of getting an internship in their marketing and comms departments. So going beyond learning marketing stuff now, how do you, you're learning marketing stuff, you know how to sell, you know what makes people buy, you know what makes people share, what makes people retweet, what makes people like, you have all of that stuff. Now you need to understand how the business that you're working in works. And the reason is because oftentimes you will realize that you're trying to sell something, but the margins are so low, the profits are so low that it makes absolutely no sense for you to put in all of your time and effort trying to sell that thing. So if you're working anywhere, you need to understand how it works. You need to understand, and the question I ask myself is, what game is this business in? What game is it trying to play? Is this business trying to grow very fast so that the valuation is high? Is this business trying to grow towards profitability? And then studying business model helps. So how does this business even make money? Do they take 30% of transaction value? Do they take 1.5% of transaction value? Do they make 70% margins? How does this business work? How does the business make money? What do I need to do to help this business stay afloat, right? So if business margin is small, say, for example, a company like Paystack that charges 1.5% of transaction fees, it means that for the business to make sense, it needs to have millions of transactions go through its platform daily. So if you're working in the marketing team in a company like that, you know that you're chasing a volume business, right? So how do you make those volumes large enough? How do you get people to keep integrating with Paystack so that the company continues to grow, but the margins continue to make sense? Next three things here is learning how to design, learning how to code, learning how to manage people. And when I say learn how to design and how to code, you don't necessarily have to know, the full technicality of these things, but learning how they work, right? So if I have a designer on my team that's a graphic designer, how do they make their decisions? How do they decide something is going to be on the left, something is going to be on the right? How does a designer design an app, right? What are the lessons I can learn from some of the world's most successful apps in terms of how it's designed, right? Learning how to code is basically, how does coding work? How do people implement these technologies? What's the basic of it? What is an API? What is a server? What is a programming language? Those things become important to know as you go up the ladder, especially if you're working in marketing, because more often than not, you would have to work across functional teams. So you'll be working with developers, you'll be working with designers, you'll be working with people in management, you'll be working across multiple different things, trying to either share ideas from them to the public or share ideas you have to them to implement. Then learning how to manage people, which is essentially how do you motivate people to do something that you need them to do without having to beg or coerce them. And learning how to manage people is basically working within teams, but not just teams, but teams of multiple people who have multiple different temperaments, who approach problem resolution differently, who approach conflict resolution differently. How do you manage multiple people's emotions when things get heightened or when things are bad and not going so well? How do you get people to be optimistic for the future, right, in your team or in your organization? Work, talking to colleagues about what problems they're facing in their work, how they solve those challenges, but also talking to people who are a little from them, or just watching, how they do things, how they talk, how they manage emotions in difficult situations, how they inspire people to get work done. And then most importantly, ask questions. If there's anything you don't know, you can always ask people in organizations questions. I feel like that's something we don't encourage enough. Or like, if there's anything you don't know, you can always ask questions. You can always find an expert on social media to ask questions about anything. You can always Google the questions or see if somebody has done a video about it on YouTube. I still yesterday had some issues with analytics in my team, and I had to go and read up some blogs, but also talk to specific people who I think can help me solve this problem, right? Because nobody knows it all. So let's go to the next slide. Keeping track of what is important. So last year, I was hiring for my team a content and community specialist, and doing interviews, I found that many people were not measuring the results of their work. So they were creating content, it was good. The company was doing well, at least from the outside, but they couldn't say, oh, here's how I contributed to get this output. And that's very, very important, especially in a world where marketing is highly digital and things can be measured. There's no reason why you should not be measuring the effects of content you write or images you create for Instagram, for example, on the business bottom line, but also in terms of marketing performance. So always keep track of what's going on, what's going wrong, where are the challenges coming from. This is not just so you can properly communicate to your team, but so you can know for yourself how to not do things. What could be better? So how can we improve these processes. If it's taking us 2 weeks to create something for Instagram, is too long. How can it be better? What are the challenges here? What can we learn from these challenges? What is changing? That is what things that we do differently. If we used to write 5 blog posts a day, and now we write only 1 blog post a day, why did we do that? Why did we make that decision? And then what are the results, right? When we take marketing activities and we run a marketing campaign, what are the results? What are people saying about this product in public, in social media, for example, or how many customers did we get after running this campaign? We worked for this, we partnered with this Instagram influencer. What did we get from that? How many followers did we get? How many people signed up to our websites? How many people read our blog? Those are results you should measure. And then finally, and most importantly, how much did it cost? If you're running marketing campaigns, you want to have to be very careful about how much it costs, especially if you're working in this side of the world where capital for marketing campaigns is often constrained. So you want to know how much it costs and match that to results. And then just having an overview of, how long did it take to get these results and how much did it cost us to get each customer, for example. So we'll go to the next slide. Doing good work. I think that the most important thing is to do good work. Like, it's nice to read all these things, and it's nice to, have all these numbers down. But if you think that you succeed in a campaign and your CEO thinks you did not succeed in a campaign, that's bad. That's just absolute bad vibes. So I would say do good work and produce results. It's very important to do good work because that's how you get, referrals in the future. People refer you to your friends, they refer you to their former colleagues who are starting companies. They refer you to their friends who are hiring. They refer you to even strangers who just ask them if they know anyone who can do certain marketing activities for them. And then building relationships is also very important. Joining communities like this, but not just communities that are focused on marketing, for example, but other communities. For example, I'm in a product group called the Products Club, and I just talk to people there, on and off about different things that they're facing. And that's how I get to meet more people, right? In a time like a pandemic where I can't go out and there are not many events. Helping your peers. So, solving problems for people who come to you to solve problems, right? You probably find after a while that your friends will come and say, I'm struggling with growing this Instagram page. Can you help me out? You can help them craft strategy. You can help them think through content ideas, and then volunteering to solve other people's problems. There's probably tons and tons of organizations who are trying, to grow their audience on social media, or are trying to get more people, especially advocacy organizations, getting more people to hear about certain problems that exist in society. And you can volunteer your time, to help them create content or help them reach, more people than they're currently doing. Okay, so getting more jobs. This is the 6th part. I'm sorry. This is the final part. This is 6. I don't know how I wrote 5. So how do you get more jobs? Everybody wants to earn dollars, The first is to let people know what you do. And this is not to say that you're overly serious or all you talk about is work all the time. But it does help that your former classmates, at least people that you're friends with, know what you do for a living and they know what you can do so that they can refer you to people who need your services. Second is selecting what you work on. I've been very lucky in the last couple of years that I have been lucky to handpick the businesses that I've worked on. And that's because over time, I have been able to see what startups will do well, what startup ideas will do well, and what ideas are just terrible ideas. Selecting what you work on and being able to say no, even if something is very big money, but you do realize that this thing cannot last more than 6 months, right? For whatever reason, or you're approached by a company and you feel iffy, you feel weird about the company, maybe because it looks like money laundering to you, or it's just generally just a weird, you went to the office and everybody there was just weird, right? And you didn't just feel good when you were there. So it's important to select what you work on. And the way to do this is to decide what your values are early on. So if your values are money, then I guess you don't need to pick what you work on. If your values are impact, if your value is that you want to be able to look back in your career and say, oh, I worked at this company 5 years ago, and now it's doing much more amazing than when I was there, but the company is not dead, right? And nobody has been arrested for fraud in that company. I would say sell only what you believe in. This is important because it's very difficult to convince people about a service that you actually don't like. It's so hard because how are you going to do it, right? If you're, for example, selling a personal finance service, but like your personal finances are in tatters, it will be difficult. You will be lying, you will feel terrible all the time, and people will be able to tell that you're just lying to them, right? Network horizontally and downwards. Many people try to network upwards. I would say network with your peers, people who are also trying to learn and grow in their career. They will have more of your time. They will dedicate resources to you. They will be willing to solve your problems. But also don't look down on people that are coming up below you. So always be willing to help somebody out who needs specific help or just general help. Maybe somebody just needs, you see a tweet and somebody needs some ebooks on marketing and you have some, you can just share with them. Optimizing your LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very great platform that Nigerian recruiters and even global recruiters use a lot to find talent. So it really does help to go to your LinkedIn, make sure your image looks nice, make sure you're defining work that you have done in the past properly and you're showing some results. Make sure that if somebody visits your page, they can see what you're about and they can decide if they like you to hire you. If you have any certifications, you can add them there, or any courses you've taken, you can add to LinkedIn just to show that, not only are you doing good work, you're also taking time to learn new things in your industry. And then the final thing is just doing good work, right? There's nothing more important than knowing your job and doing it well. And the reason is beyond what's it called? Beyond just earning a salary, you want people that you have worked with to be able to vouch for you, and to be able to say, this guy is great at his job. This guy knows this strategy very well. This guy joined our company and we saw a tremendous increase, in our revenue in such a short time. Maybe even somebody says, oh, we didn't treat that guy well in this company, but it was a really great guy, and she was a really great lady to work with. So that's all from me. I don't know if there's a Q&A session. You can read, I have some digital marketing articles. You can read my blog at digitalmarketer.ng. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is Binjo Adeniran. If there are any questions, I think we can take them now.
All right. Thank you so much, Binjo. Obviously, I don't know if anyone has questions, you can actually drop it like in the chat, so we'll get to see it. But may I have a general question? Because of late, through you or through Growth Vibes and Inshallah, because I belong to the community, I began to realize that there are like just so many amazing jobs flying around. Prior to then, I always saw marketing as I didn't see marketing as one big thing. I mean, big thing, yeah, but I did not know that it's really possible to be among the top guys in marketing, earning those amounts of like money, except you belong to some private groups. Like I said earlier, there are like so many marketing groups, like marketers in quotes around Nigeria or Africa, where everybody's learning from one thing or the other. But what does it take really to measure up to the global talent in marketing? Because I feel like they require a lot. When I checked through the requirements of these guys, I figured out that the tools these guys require and some other things are sort of very, very different. So what do we need to do as marketers to measure up to?
Sure. Please go on. Please go on.
Yeah. So what do we do to measure up to that global talent phase or level? Although we have 1 minute left, what I'll do is once it's 30 seconds more, I'll end it and restart with the same link, so everybody can join with the same link. Yeah, but I'm with you.
No problem. No problem. So what I would say is it's important to just be a sponge, to learn as much as you learn. And if you're not yet at the global level, like you said earlier, when you look at job descriptions, you can see what the companies want. And like I would say that's something that is also very important when you're learning. Just go to remote job websites and look at the job descriptions there and see what tools the companies are hiring for. Something I know that's very popular in the US is a product called Salesforce. I know Salesforce and HubSpot are very popular tools that marketing teams use in the US. I don't think there's a lot of Nigerian companies who use both tools. But like from reading job listings, you can see that. You can also see that tools like Segment and Amplitude are also quite in demand, right? I think you want to end the call now, so we can join again. Yeah, we can't hear you because you're muted.